long before Luis Suárez became one of the most polarizing figures in football history. He was just a skinny boy growing up in the rugged streets of Salto, Uruguay, a city known for producing raw footballing talent and even rougher life lessons. Born on January 24, 1987, Luis Alberto Suárez Dias was the fourth of 7 siblings in a working-class family that struggled to make ends meet. His childhood wasn't marked by trophies or privilege. It was defined by hunger, both literal and metaphorical. By the time Suárez was 9 years old, his life changed drastically. His parents, Rodolfo and Sandra, divorced. Shock of that moment shaped his entire adolescence. As the family fractured, so did his sense of stability. His mother worked as a cleaner to support all 7 children, and Luis, still a child himself, began working jobs like sweeping the streets and carrying heavy loads just to help out. Football wasn't just a hobby, it was an escape. At age 14, Suárez was already playing youth football for Nacional, one of Uruguay's most prestigious clubs. But his path wasn't smooth. He had the talent, but lacked discipline. He often skipped training, clashed with coaches, and seemed to be throwing away his chance. His youth coaches seriously considered dropping him, not because of a lack of skill, but because his behavior was reckless. His own teammates saw a boy who could be great if he didn't self-destruct. Everything began to shift when Luis met a 13-year-old girl named Sofia Balbi. At just 15 years old, Suárez found something he'd never really had: emotional stability. Sofia came from a middle-class family who offered Luis a glimpse into a life very different from his own. Her support and belief in him grounded him in a way that even football hadn't. But when Sofia's family relocated to Spain in 2003, a year-old Suárez made himself a silent promise. He'd make it to Europe, not just to pursue football, but to chase love. That mission became his obsession. At age 19, in July 2006, Suárez took the leap and signed his first European contract with FC Groningen in the Netherlands. It wasn't glamorous. The club was small, the climate cold, and he didn't speak the language. But none of that mattered. He had made it. He had crossed the Atlantic from Montevideo to Groningen with nothing but hunger in his eyes and fire in his boots. During the 2006-07 Eredivisie season, 20-year-old Suárez made 29 league appearances and scored 10 goals. Not world-class numbers, but good enough to turn heads. What stood out more than the goals was his fight. He pressed, tackled, shouted, ran, and clashed. Groningen fans loved him, even if the coaching staff admitted they didn't always understand him. He was raw chaos wrapped in football boots. In 2007, just 1 year after arriving in Europe, 20-year-old Suárez made a massive jump to Ajax, the biggest club in the Netherlands. They paid €7.5 million, an eye-popping sum for such a wild, unpredictable striker. But Ajax knew what they were buying. Not a finished product, but a storm waiting to be unleashed. And unleashed he was. Over the next 3 years, Suárez transformed. From age 20 to 23, he scored 111 goals in just 159 appearances. In the 2009-10 season, at just 23 years old, he produced an astonishing 49 goals and 24 assists in 48 matches. That's 73 goal contributions in less than 50 games. He won the Eredivisie Golden Boot, was named Dutch Footballer of the Year, and even wore the captain's armband. But even in his prime, his demons followed him. Suárez's temper flared often. He collected yellow cards like trading cards. And soon, one infamous moment would change everything. in November 2010. Just weeks before turning 24, he bit Otman Bakal during a match against PSV. The Dutch media erupted. Tabloids labeled him the cannibal of Ajax, and the Eredivisie hit him with a 7-match ban. That bite didn't just make headlines. It marked the moment Luis Suárez went from a misunderstood genius to a global controversy magnet. It was the beginning of a reputation he'd spend years trying, and sometimes refusing to outrun. But for all the chaos, one truth remained undeniable. From 19 to 23 years old, Luis Suárez climbed from poverty in Uruguay to captaincy in Europe, outscoring legends and carrying decades of pain on his back. He wasn't polished, but he was powerful, and his story was just getting started. Between 2010 and 2018, football was largely defined by two names, Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. Their dominance in front of goal was unlike anything the sport had seen. Together, they shattered records, rewrote history books, and turned the race for the European Golden Boot into a two-man battle. That is, until one man disrupted the duopoly in the 2015 to 2016 season. Luis Suárez didn't just break through, he demolished expectations. While Messi notched 41 goals and Ronaldo found the net 51 times, it was Suárez who defied all odds, finishing with 59 goals in just 53 matches across all competitions. This wasn't a fluke. It was a masterclass in finishing, positioning, sheer footballing violence. For the first time in years, the European Golden Boot didn't go to Messi or Ronaldo, it went to the so-called problem child of world football. But how did Suárez get here? How did a kid from Salto, Uruguay, a city known more for poverty than football, rise to become one of the most lethal forwards in history? Born on January 24, 1987, Suárez was the fourth of 7 siblings. His early years were filled with financial instability and emotional hardship. His parents separated when he was just 9, a pivotal moment that coincided with his family's move to Montevideo. It was in the capital city, amidst the chaos of starting over, that Suárez truly began to shape his identity. He worked as a street sweeper in his teens to support his family, but football remained the one constant in his life. He joined the youth ranks of Nacional, one of Uruguay's most prestigious clubs, and by 18, he had broken into the senior team. In his debut season in 2005, he helped Nacional win the Uruguayan Primera Division, scoring 10 goals in 27 matches. Scouts began to take notice, not just of his raw talent, but of his hunger. He wasn't polished, but he was relentless. There was something animalistic about the way he played controlled chaos. That same year, his performances earned him a transfer to Dutch side FC Groningen. At just 19 years old, Suárez moved to Europe. While most young players would struggle with the transition, Suárez thrived. Despite the language barrier and cultural shock, he managed to score 10 goals in 29 appearances. During the 2006 to 2007 Eredivisie season, his performances were so electric that just a year later, Dutch giants Ajax came knocking. Ajax signed him in 2007 for €7.5 million, a club record at the time for Groningen. And it didn't take long for Suárez to explode. By his second season, he had formed a lethal partnership with Kluisgan Huntelaar. Even after Huntelaar left, Suárez stepped into the spotlight as the main man. In the Arling season, Suárez scored a staggering 49 goals and registered 24 assists in just 48 games. That's 73 goal contributions in under 50 matches, an almost unbelievable number. He wasn't just putting up numbers, he was also earning accolades. That season, he was named Ajax Player of the Year and also won the Dutch Footballer of the Year award. To cap it all off, he finished as the top scorer in the Eredivisie and was given the club captain's armband. At just Suárez wasn't he just a young talent, he was a force of nature. But even then, there were signs of volatility. While his technical brilliance and football IQ were undeniable, Suárez's temper often flared. Coaches loved his passion but feared his impulsiveness. Yet no one could deny that Suárez was a born striker. His first touch, his instinct for goal, his ability to create something out of nothing. He wasn't the fastest, but his awareness and positioning made defenders look slow. He wasn't the flashiest, but his finishes were clinical. By 2011, Suárez had outgrown the Eredivisie. It was time for the next chapter. That year, Liverpool came calling. They paid €22.8 million to secure the services of the Uruguayan striker, bringing him to the Premier League mid-season in January. The English media didn't know what to expect, but what they got was a player who would become both a nightmare and a legend, Luis. Suárez had now risen from the dirt fields of Salto to the stadiums of Amsterdam and untold. His name the radar of every major club. But as his career trajectory climbed to new heights, so did the headlines, both good and bad. The world would soon see not just how talented Suárez was, but how complicated. Luis Suárez's prime was nothing short of extraordinary. After years of controversy and brilliance, he reached his absolute peak when he joined FC Barcelona in 2014. Many questioned the move. Why would one of the world's biggest clubs gamble on the most hated striker alive? But they had a plan. Pair him with Lionel Messi and Neymar and channel his chaos into chemistry. What followed was one of the most lethal attacking trios in football history. The iconic MSN. In his debut season, Suárez not only adapted, he dominated. He racked up 25 goals and 23 assists in 43 matches, helping Barcelona win the treble, La Liga, Copa del Rey, and Champions League. But the real madness came in the 2015-16 season. That year, Suárez achieved something unfathomable. He outscored both Messi and Ronaldo. He bagged 59 goals and 24 assists in just 53 matches, including 40 league goals that earned him the Pichichi and his second European Golden Boot. It was the most statistically dominant season of his career and one of the best in football history, while Messi and Ronaldo were still putting up legendary numbers. It was Suárez who stood tallest without taking a single penalty kick. It wasn't just the goals, it was the relentlessness, the creativity, and the way he combined flair with fury. He didn't ask to be forgiven, he demanded to be respected. That season redefined him not just as a controversial striker, but as a generational talent who proved he could rise above everything and outperform the gods of the game. Once, the headlines weren't about bites or bans, they were about brilliance. Luis Suárez's greatness didn't come without a shadow, and that shadow was massive. For every goal he scored, it seemed there was a controversy waiting to chase it. Even as his talent reached legendary heights, Suárez carried with him a trail of unforgettable incidents that threatened to tarnish everything he built. It began during his time at Ajax. In November 2010, Suárez, then just 23 years old, was already one of Europe's most exciting young strikers. But in a heated match against PSV, he shocked the football world by biting Otman Bakel on the shoulder. The footage was damning, and the press was merciless. Dutch tabloids quickly dubbed him the cannibal of Ajax. He was handed a 7-match suspension, but the nickname stuck, and so did the doubts about his discipline. Months later, at the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, he triggered another firestorm. In the quarterfinals against Ghana, Suárez deliberately used his hands to block a goal-bound shot in the final moments of extra time. The red card was instant. Ghana missed the penalty, and Uruguay advanced on penalties. While Suárez was hailed as a hero back home, the rest of the world called it disgraceful. It was the kind of moment that made people choose sides, genius or villain. But his most explosive controversies came during his time in England. At Liverpool, he lit up the Premier League, but also scorched his reputation. In October 2011, he was charged with racially abusing Manchester United's Patrice Evra. The FA investigation concluded with an 8-match ban and a £40,000 fine. Then, when United visited Anfield, Suárez refused to shake Evra's hand. It wasn't just a scandal, it was a national media frenzy. And yet it didn't stop there. In Arling-y-Seine, Suárez bit Chelsea's Branislav Ivanovic during a match. Once again, the world watched in disbelief. Another ban followed, this time for 10 matches, one of the longest for on-field misconduct in English football history. He was now a repeat offender with a dangerous reputation. Then came the most infamous bite of all. At the 2014 World Cup in Brazil, Suárez sunk his teeth into Italy's Giorgio Chiellini. This time, FIFA came down hard. A 4-month ban from all football activities. His sponsors dropped him. His critics swarmed. He was, without a doubt, the most hated footballer on earth. Throughout these years, injuries were not his primary setbacks. His behavior was, despite being relatively injury-free during his prime. It was Suárez's actions, not his body, that created the turbulence in his career. Clubs feared the fallout. Fans were divided. But the most remarkable thing, he always came back. He didn't beg for forgiveness. He played harder, scored more, and forced the world to see both the brilliance and the chaos in one man. Luis Suárez's legacy is as complex as it is undeniable. In an era dominated by Lionel Messi and Cristiano Ronaldo, Suárez forced the footballing world to acknowledge a third-force striker who didn't just keep up, but at times outshined. Both his 2015-16 season remains one of the most iconic in modern football history. While Messi netted 41 goals and Ronaldo 51, Suárez eclipsed them both with 59 goals and 24 assists in just 53 games. It was raw dominance, unfiltered, unrelenting, unforgettable. Across his career, Suárez has collected trophies at every level. From winning the Eredivisie, Golden Boot and Player of the Year at Ajax, to conquering the Premier League with a Golden Boot and Player of the Season at Liverpool, two leading Barcelona's treble-winning MSN era alongside Messi and Neymar. In his first 2 seasons at Barca, he racked up 82 goals and 43 assists. Few players in history have ever blended aggression and artistry with such lethal efficiency. Beyond the stats, Suárez's impact reshaped how strikers are judged. He wasn't just a poacher or a finisher, He was a creator, a presser, a relentless force. He played with a fire that lifted teams, ignited fans, and terrified defenders. And despite his controversies, his genius became impossible to deny. From Uruguay to Europe, from villain to legend, Luis Suárez redefined what greatness looks like: flawed, fierce, and utterly unforgettable. His name will forever spark debate. But one thing is certain. He didn't just play football, he changed it. Love him or hate him, Luis Suárez is a name that commands respect. His career reads like a Hollywood screenplay dripping with brilliance, shadowed by scandal, but powered by an undeniable will to win. Few players in history have walked such a tightrope between genius and madness, yet somehow emerged not just standing, but towering. Suárez wasn't the golden boy. He wasn't protected by the media or cushioned by global PR machines. He was raw, often reckless, and unapologetically himself. And in that chaos, he forged a legacy that even his harshest critics had to acknowledge. Because while others relied on image, Suárez relied on output. Goals, assists, trophies, he delivered them all. Again and again. And what's even more remarkable is how he forced the world to rewrite its script. In a footballing age sculpted around Messi and Ronaldo, Suárez didn't wait for permission. He carved his place alongside them on merit, on performance, on sheer audacity. Outscoring both in their prime wasn't a fluke, it was proof. Proof that greatness doesn't always come polished. Sometimes it comes with scars. In the end, Suárez's journey wasn't about redemption, it was about resilience. He didn't beg to be forgiven, he forced the world to move on. Because when you're dropping 59 goals in a season, there's no room left for judgmentally awe. So whether you remember him as the biter, the cheater, the genius, or the gladiator, just know this: Luis Suárez didn't just play the game. He broke it, rebuilt it, and left a mark so deep, it'll echo through generations of strikers to come. This wasn't the story of a comeback, it was the story of a storm. And Luis Suárez, the eye of it.